Good evening and welcome to Authors Write Aloud, where this evening we have some great guests on board to talk a little bit about engaging in
Somebody's talking.
marketing. Good evening and welcome to Authors. Now I've got feedback. We'll fix that. Anyways, we'll start over. I have some great guests coming in tonight to talk a little bit about engaging marketing and some social networking. So tonight, I would like to introduce you all to Miranda OH, Christie Stratos, and Marc Watson. Everybody, how are you all? Welcome.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome,
Hello.
Authors Write Aloud, and glad you could make it for this evening's show. I'd like to introduce everybody and give them a chance to tell a little bit about themselves. So we'll start off up here to, I guess it's your left, my right, with Miranda.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Miranda O. I am the author of the Chin Up Tits Out series, and I am super thrilled to be here with this crowd this evening. I think it's going to be an absolutely wonderful, fun, and possibly educational conversation, or I guess informing conversation.
All right. Christie.
Hi, everyone. How are you guys doing? I am the author of Anatomy of a Darkened Heart and Brotherhood of Secrets. Those are both in the Dark Victoriana collection. I'm also an editor. You can find my editing website at proofpositivepro.com. And I'm also the host of the Writers Showcase podcast, which is part of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. So it's awesome to be here tonight. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And Marc.
Everybody hear me okay? I had issues earlier. Good. All right. My name is Marc Watson. I am an author from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I have 3 books out. My first book was Death Dresses Poorly, which is a urban fantasy dark comedy, and my science fiction duology Catching Hell Part 1 and 2 are also available.
Excellent. All right, everyone. My name is Richard White, the host of Authors Write Aloud. And you can find me on authorrichardwhite.com, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, most everywhere, Author Richard White. Twitter is rwhiteauthor. And let's get things started. We'll talk about me later. I want to get into our little bit of subject that we have with engaging some marketing, because it seems that it is a huge undertaking for indie authors to market themselves, and a lot of us struggle, I guess, for lack of the better term, with the marketing end of things. So I want to hear from all of you guys. What do you guys do to engage in marketing?
I engage in my publicist.
Yes.
But putting my publicist aside and what I do personally, because I try to connect my books to my person, and connect with my readers in some way, shape, or form. I know that I'm not always going to talk to them because I'm not producing books constantly, right? So there needs to be a way that I'm continuously communicating with my readers and trying to engage new people. So I do use social media in that sense, and just saying, hey, this is me, this is what I do, this is why I write about what I write, this is how I get these ideas, and I just want to share that with people. And that usually generates a lot of conversations and starts new relationships and new connections, and you never know where those are going to take you.
Yeah, I for one can say that I've seen all of Miranda's marketing stuff with social media, and you do a really good job. I just wanted to say that, her books are very about positivity. It's actually novels, but they are about positivity. And that's what you do on your social media. And that's kind of like, sometimes it's a little bit difficult, not to throw an immediate problem out there, but for me, for example, I have a darker series, and that's what I write. I write dark stuff for the most part. So it's a little bit difficult because I'm a pretty positive person. So there's a bit of a disconnect there. But basically, it's similar to what Miranda was saying. You know, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, I have a podcast, like pretty much as many ways as you can get out there. Definitely put yourself out there. And I do share a lot of positive things and things about loving coffee, stuff that has nothing to do with the Victorian era or dark fiction, but people get to know you that way. And then they feel like there's, you know, the personal side of you. And then there's also the, you know, fiction novelist side of you. And I think that that brings them closer to you.
Mark?
They're a lot better at it than I am. For me, because I'm very much a part-time author and I want to stay a part-time author, I try to choose my social media and my marketing engagements very carefully. So I've got my publicist, and I love my publicist. And I very much try and focus on just individual things. With just Twitter, I only want that to look after just one aspect of things. And normally that's me experimenting with writing and engaging writers more directly. And then with Facebook, it's definitely more about marketing and what I'm doing and advertising, doing shows like this and that kind of thing. Like, that's definitely where I'm trying to focus that. If I tried to juggle my Instagram and my Twitter and my Facebook all at one time and trying to get it all going, I would be pulling my hair out. And as a part-time author, I don't really have that kind of time. So I make sure that I have kind of a concentrated attack on whatever it is that I am working on at that time, be it Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook.
But let me ask, I'm not sure how everybody is with you. Myself, personally, I have a full-time job. So I am a part-time writer as well. I really wish it could be a lot more than that because it is something I absolutely love. However, I find with me, it is very hard to market myself only because of lack of time. How do you guys manage the time to be able to do so? I mean, luckily enough, with having a publicist that does a lot of those things for you, but the things that you do and have to do on your own, how do you manage that time with having a full-time job?
Well, I have a full-time job. I write books. I'm an Airbnb host, and I sit on a board. So I have to prioritize my weeks, and usually that happens on like a Sunday evening. I'll spend 30 minutes outlining what I need to do that week in all of my aspects, and not including like my professional aspects, but I also want to take time for cooking and cleaning and self-care, like working out, or, you know, putting a hair mask on, or, you know, sitting and doing nothing like that. That it all includes in my productivity. Is if I don't take time for myself, or I don't take that time to plan, nothing gets done for me. So I really sit down and map out what I want to do. And I think, speaking to what you said, Mark, was I really need to focus on one thing at a time. So instead of one platform, I focus on one kind of message. So it's just determining what kind of what you want to do as an artist and what message you want to portray. And if it's to focus on one platform or focus on one idea, you know, like Christy said, I'm all about positivity. So if I have this little light bulb that goes off in my head, I'm all about it for a short time, for like a week. And then I move on to the next idea or the next, you know, positivity mantra that I can come up with. So it's, you know, I have to organize it. And I think that's key, structure and mapping things out.
Yeah, I work for myself. I do full-time have my own business, and that's what I do now. But I was in the corporate world not that long ago. I did leave like a year and a half ago. And at that time, it was very difficult because I was a project manager, which is pretty much a 24/7 job. And then I was writing, and I had my editing business I was developing on the side. even now, yes, I work for myself full time, but I have to diversify my income, because if one thing drops off, you have to have multiple other ways of making income. So still, there's a lot to do, and there's a lot people don't know I do. So I would say, for me at least, it's heavily mindset. So, for me, especially when I had a corporate job, I considered Instagram a sort of stress release. And I would put things up there, like I would write haikus or find beautiful fantasy images that inspired me and shared that. And then on Facebook, I would share maybe more personal types of things, but fun. And like I do always like change up what I put on each platform. Sometimes I share the same thing to multiple places, but I try to view these things as different sort of releases for myself. And by, thinking of it that way and having that mindset, it's a lot easier for me to sort of sometimes force the time if you have to. Like when I would get very stressed, when I had my corporate job, I would have to take like just 5 minutes and find an image I like and share it, something like that. And that all counts. All of it counts.
Mm-hmm.
I found it difficult at first to figure out what I would do on these different platforms. But when I tried too hard, I found it didn't really work. And I think people could tell. And so when I loosened up and put whatever I really felt, at the time, and I do that now, I get a much better response. So kind of all of that plays into how I make the time to do it.
I don't make the time to do it. I just accept the time when it comes. Going back to what you said, Richard, about how you are also a full-time worker who's a part-time writer, the difference in our stance is that I don't want to be a writer full-time. I love writing, I respect writing, and I love being a part of this community, but I do not ever envision myself being a writer full-time. That's just not who I am. I love my job, and I love the things that I do in it, and I love all of the things that I do as a husband and a dad. So I've always done things like my marketing and my writing in bits and chunks where I can get it around that. I mean, it's gotten a lot easier these days to be able to do it because everyone's got a high-powered computer in their pocket. If something comes to me that I need to do, I can fire it off right away while I'm sitting in the stands at a hockey practice, or when I have a moment of downtime at work. I embrace the fact that I'm a busy guy and I've got a lot going on, and I just try and find the right tools to help me utilize what downtime I do have the most effectively, so that way I never feel like I'm wasting a moment, unless that's exactly what my intention is. Like as they both kind of alluded to, self-care is important too. So sometimes you just have to be like, I am going to watch this absolutely ridiculous YouTube video of puppies falling down for a little while, because that's exactly where your mindset is at that moment. That's what you need to do to kind of relax.
Completely agree with you. I got lost in the YouTube after work today and watched Cruise Ships Gone Bad. I was like, whoa, I'm not going on a cruise ship for a little while now.
I'll have to check that out. I'll go on with that. And, I do the same thing, and I actually lose track of time doing so. I am a meme freak. And when I've had a long day at work, which I don't know why, but for some reason seems like it's every other day. When I've had a long day, I'm sore and exhausted from the physical labor that my job asks of me. When I get home, I would love to sit down and write, and I get these ideas all day long into my head, or I got to sit down and do this, or I market that, or this, that, and the other. And then when I get home, I'm like, oh. And the only thing that I do, I'll jump on Facebook, or I'll jump on some, Twitter or whatever, just to read the memes for a little bit of, comedy relief. Just laughter is good for the soul. And that's what I'll do. I dive into that kind of stuff. The other thing is I will jump on and watch some of the YouTube shows or the Facebook shows that I'm invited to, try to catch up with. I know sometimes there's a couple of fellow authors that do shows during the day, and in the midday, I think you have one coming up, Christie, soon. It's like in the middle of the day. And that's what I do when I come home at night. That's my time. I pop my headphones on because that's the only silence I get with my lovely wife and daughter. Netflix runs my house. I swear to God. Um, but so the only time I can kind of get away is with a set of headphones or Sunday football.
Yeah, it is a very fine balance because we lose track of just how easy it is to fall down that well, to like my lunch hour is a great example. It is exactly 1 hour. I spend my time eating, and then after that I'm usually writing or editing or something. But there are days, like there's certain shows that come out, be they like writer shows or something in the industry, or cooking shows or something like that. And so I watch a cooking show, and then, I mean, I'm sure everybody's done it. They've fallen down that rabbit hole of, well, that sounds really interesting. I want to learn more about that. And then suddenly that hour disappears so quickly, and it's amazing, like the journey that you take. Like you start watching, like, well, I kind of want to know how to make this roast, and like I said, then I end up with my puppy video at the end of it, right? Like it's just, you need to be mindful of those kinds of things when you are taking your personal time.
Oh, of course. Of course. I have to tell you, this whole summer, I spent Friday lunch hours on my Instagram looking. So I started to consciously follow a bunch of businesses in my neighborhood. So I live in Manitoba, in Winnipeg, and I live right downtown. So there's so much within walking distance to go do, but it's so hard to find where things are. Like, you know, it's not like you can pop on the TV and see this cafe has this really cool artist doing live music, or there's patioke going on. That's patio karaoke, by the way. Oh my God, it's a thing. So it should be a thing everywhere. But I would spend Friday lunch hours, and this has a whole thing to marketing, so let me tie it all in. But I would spend Friday lunch hours looking through the Instagram stories of all these businesses in my neighborhood and essentially map out my weekend, because I had the opportunity and everybody put something there, and it would just had to be a little story for me to remind me that, hey, that cafe is there and this is happening, versus the next cafe or the next lounge that has the next artist or the next little artsy fartsy thing, right? So I think that comes, and where I'm tying that into is that from a marketing standpoint of view, for me as an author and as a business owner, is that I just want to be in people's minds. You know, it doesn't have to be really anything to do with my book or my anything. It's just, hey, I'm here, like I exist, and you know, if you want to connect with me, you want to connect with me. If you don't want to connect with me, cool, peace, like much love, move on, and new connections will happen both ways. So yeah, I get lost in the vortex, but it works because that's how I spend my money on the weekends.
That's actually kind of neat. I could probably do that here, but where I live, there's a lot of different businesses, but I find there are more. It's more of the chain stuff. You know, locally here, I got the Walmart and the Target and all that kind of stuff. Coffee shops, I'm not sure why, but they don't really last here. We had one when I first had published one of my first books, the Coffee Beanery, and like the place was always busy, constantly busy, um, because it was just a really nice environment. They had a nice little fireplace off to the side. It was quiet, relaxing. You know, you could sit there. I worked on my writing there. We had writers group meetings there with other fellow writers, all sorts of stuff. And poop, it was gone. And now it's a grill and noisy as hell. Um, but every time a little coffee shop or something like that, or a little cafe pops up, they don't last all that long in my area. And there's a few smaller cafes, but they're very noisy. They have a bar attached. it's really hard to actually enjoy. I mean, sure, if I'm going to just enjoy myself and just have a good time, have a few drinks with friends and so on and so forth, and that's what I'm gearing it towards, yes. But my goal is to go to a few of these places just to sit and write, just to sit and relax, and work on stuff like that while I'm, in that environment. I have a friend of mine. He's like at a coffee shop every other day in New York City, and he shoots his videos, and it does all sorts of stuff with Twitter and Instagram and so on and so forth, right there from the coffee shop. And it's just a nice, quiet haven. And I just that's the kind of environment I want to seek out on the weekends because my days are so hectic during the week.
Of course, you need that downtime.
So because you guys actually are lucky and have the publicist helping you, but getting onto the social media aspects of things, how hard is it for you guys with the engaging in marketing and the social media and the algorithms and all that fun stuff with trying to get your stuff out there?
The algorithms are tricky because as soon as you think you know them, they change. And you're like, but this person was seeing my stuff last week, or I was seeing this person's stuff last week or yesterday, and now it didn't update. And like, did you see my stuff? Like, I don't know. It's constantly changing. So it is really difficult to maintain it. Like, it's almost a part-time job on itself to just stick up with how they're changing and how to utilize the software or the programming to your benefit. So it requires a little bit of research, but it is worth it in the end. It really is, because once you start to figure out how to do it and you start to get those moments of engaging with those people and those new connections, then it snowballs. If 1-2 people start to notice your profile, then the next day it exponentially grows really quickly. So if you do invest that time right at the beginning and kind of have an idea as to how it works, and then plan out your stuff, then go at it and post and, search out, seek out, send people messages, introduce yourself, be kind, like you never know what's going to happen when you say hello to somebody, right? So, that's what I do. Works for me sometimes it doesn't, but works for me.
Yeah, definitely. I can agree with that. It is very frustrating at times. At times it can be discouraging, like you feel like nothing's really happening, or it's always the same people liking your post, which is good, but at the same time you want to draw in more people. And at times you're really not sure if you're reaching anybody or if it's making any difference at all. But I will say that I have been surprised to find that, people that I've been following for years, 2 or 3 years, and they've been following me, we like post back and forth, suddenly will reach out to me and say, hey, I'm looking for your editing services. And it took like 3 years to cultivate that relationship, but it's there, and it suddenly happens. These are things that it's just—
That was me, wasn't it?
Yeah, you too, yeah. That's true. It is funny, like you just don't realize. And I've had it like I used to get frustrated with the YouTube channel. I used to keep up my Christie Stratos YouTube channel, not the Writer's Edge, that too, but my author channel. And especially with like Adpocalypse and all that crazy stuff, it was just like the viewership went really far down, and I felt like nobody was seeing it and it was pointless. But every once in a while, something will come of that. Someone will say, I saw you on there, or I really like your advice. Or, I even saw a book review from someone in, I think it was Portugal, who had found my YouTube channel and bought my book and reviewed it. Like, you just don't know the impact you're having or who you're reaching. And so I often see social media experts saying it really doesn't matter how many likes you have. It really matters the quality of your audience. So like, you know, there are people who have millions of likes and nothing's really going on for them. And then there are people that have 30 likes and they've got like a whole bunch of people who, they become clients and friends and they buy your books and all kinds of stuff. So really it is worth the time. It's worth the research, like Miranda said. And it's worth keeping up and just doing your best on it and putting your true self out there.
I can follow up with a quick story about you never really know what's going to happen. And it has to do with you and I, Christie. A guest of mine from Airbnb, I rent out my spare bedroom. We were talking about this interview this evening. She goes, I have to tell you, so this Christie that you're interviewing with tonight, yeah. Well, the interview with you and her back, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, that was the reason why I came to stay with you. I'm like, yes.
That's amazing. That's so cool.
Conversation. And I'm like, that is amazing. Like, what a small world. So, I mean, she was like, you really never know. It's not like, the universe works in mysterious ways.
It's mind-blowing. It really is.
It's interesting that you say that, because that would actually be a very valuable resource to somebody who's kind of Airbnb surfing or couch surfing, because if they do the research and they see your name and then they Google you and they're just like, oh my God, there's all these videos about this person. And suddenly you go from just like somebody who's renting out a room to you are a personality. You are a person, and obviously you're an effervescent personality. So it's like, I want to stay with that person. Like that sounds fantastic. Exactly. So it's an interesting kind of cross-pollination of different professional pursuits. So,
it's like the multiple hats, you know. I sometimes go back and call myself a one-woman circus. Like, again, jack of all trades, master of none. But it's better than being a master of one. Did I get it?
You got it. That is the full thing. Yeah.
That was the first time I ever said that whole thing all by myself.
Sorry, I was just going to say, like, for myself, and in going back to what we were talking about with the social media and whatnot, I have always made it just a point of being active, even if I'm just putting out a quote from a book or writing in some kind of writing prompt, or just staying engaged. Like, I had a couple of new short stories that were published earlier this year, but in those downtimes between that, I had to make sure that I could tell somebody back in March, oh yeah, I've got another short story that's coming out, it's going to be published in August. But if I just suddenly say that and then I disappear for a week, I've lost them, right? Like, I gotta make sure that I stay constantly engaged. I'm less involved in looking at things like the algorithms because I don't have the time, but I do respect them, and I understand what it is they are attempting to accomplish or destroy, depending on the algorithm. It's hard to say, but I just make sure that I follow that same kind of mantra that I had in the first place of being engaged, just letting people know what's going on. And I take a lot of pride in the fact that all of my social media and my website is all me. It's like, I don't have anybody looking after it. If somebody posts a comment on something, I'm going to get back to them. I'm going to get back to them quickly. And I've had it a bunch of times where people are really impressed I'm not a bot who's just replying for the sake of replying or whatever, right? Like, or somebody tries to start selling them something. And the engagement works. Like you said, going back to the quality of the engagement that you've got, it absolutely works. And I've seen the reviews and the purchases from people from all around North America and different parts of the world, just because I engaged them and they found me entertaining at that time and they wanted to see more of what I had to say.
Mm-hmm.
I have to agree with you with that, Mark, on the whole staying engaged. And I run into that issue where I fall off the map for a week or so because I get so busy. You know, like you, I'm a husband, I'm a father. My daughter has something every single night of the week, mostly dance and ballet. So if my wife has an appointment or my wife is doing something, and you know, like next Wednesday night, I have the show, but at the same time, my wife is got invited to some meditation thing. She's like, I'm going. I go, go, enjoy yourself. Absolutely. But now I have to be dad and authors Write Aloud at the same time and try to fit it in, and just try to fit it in. I may go for a little later start or drop my daughter off early so she can do whatever and just work with some other stuff on that. But I find myself getting yanked away from my social media, yanked away from marketing. And like you, myself, I am the builder of everything. I write my books, I build my book covers, I publish all of my books by myself. I do it all by myself. I do my own blog. I build my own blog. Every bit of my website has been built by me, with nobody else helping. I pass it along to a couple of different people and say, hey, give me a look and read this. Just, I'm launching my homepage. Before I start sharing it to the world, just give it a look, see, and make sure, am I missing something? Is there, how's the editing look? I do usually put, if I put like my about me thing, I usually throw it through Pro Writing 8 or something, but there's always that one missed this, missed that, that I may not have caught. And I always catch it later. And it's like, I wrote that.
Well, again, that goes back to what I was saying about always being engaged. Like my website is on WordPress, and I just have a WordPress app on my tablet. I've got it on my phone. So if I do catch something like that, at least as far as little things like you're saying, like a typo or missed information, it's very easy for me to just pop up and just start fixing whatever it is, right? Like the technology is there in my hands. I just have to make sure that I do catch it, or somebody else catches it for me, and I can get on it quickly.
And to follow that up, on Twitter, I love Twitter. It's actually my favorite social media to use to engage. And the reason for that is I have more engagement with not just fellow authors, but readers as well over there. Where Facebook, I have more engagement with writers, fellow authors, or people in the biz, editors or publishers or graphic designers or some, other people, YouTubers and things like that I work with and stuff. And that's really where I get Facebook. I really don't get a large drag on Facebook for readership and other places, but on Twitter, I get a mix of both. And I like it over there because the engagement is so much more. And then when I lose if I lose a week, I get to the point where I forget to post. And I ain't been on Twitter in a while. And I go over there and I've got a notification from somebody asking me where I'm at, because I'll go like 5 days posting and all of a sudden I'll get a message. It's where you at? You were posting like every day and now we ain't. Where'd you go? Did you die? And that's where it hits me, because it's like they're actually looking to read what I'm posting. They actually are interesting in what I've got to engage with. Because I try to methodically think out the posts that I do as much as possible, unless I just see something at random that is just, yeah, I got to post that.
Yeah,
because I do a lot of that. But I have noticed when the engagement drops right off and people forget about you quickly. And then I get back on, like this week, I think I'm at like 26,000 reach, where like 3 weeks ago when I had spent like a whole week on, and I was retweeting and I was taking part in some other, Twitter stuff with other authors and readers and stuff, the reach had gotten, my reach was somewhere in the hundreds of thousands.
Wow.
Just the reach, I wasn't getting a ton of engagement. I was getting a lot more engagement than I normally do, but the reach itself, I had reached over 120,000 people. And I fall off again, and then I go a couple of weeks where I'm down in the 20,000s because I'm just not able to post or getting over there to read what I'm looking at. And it bums me out not only of my own posting and my own engagement, but sometimes I don't always get to see what my fellow authors are posting that I like. I seek out. There's a couple of people that I try to read their posts or their engagement as much as I can because it interests me or I have fun with it. Well, one of my favorites is our Sock Nation over on Twitter with JD Estrada.
It's the best.
I literally sought out my Harry Potter socks.
That's awesome. I love his Sock Nation on Twitter. Seriously, I follow it.
That is a good way to, get engagement going and to meet new people too. I always think of these things as community builders, and like you're on there to hopefully get, sell some books and stuff like that. But you are building a community, even if, people associate that with like Facebook groups, but even a page. I mean, it's pretty much you're building a community there. And the same thing with Twitter. People want to respond to you. They want to be heard. They want to see what you have to say back, things like that. So, I've found that I think when I think too hard about things, it's never great, and a lot of times I think, this is too simple a thing to post or nobody's going to care or something. Usually that's what people care about. They care about that more than the stuff that I think they're going to care about. They just want to see like the everyday stuff and advice and that you're going through the same thing as them. And, to get back to what you were saying about, finding different hashtags or communities. A lot of times a hashtag is attached to a community. Like, Mike Faria here is an author. He's saying, he's a great horror author, by the way, but he's doing fantasy now too. I think you said writers community, writing community. I think there's multiple hashtags, but he's been using writing community lately on Twitter, and he's been getting a great response, and he's being really modest in the comments, but he's getting a really good response. So, I mean, it's a matter of sort of keeping it up and just being you. I know I keep saying that, but it took me a long time to really get into that. I kept thinking I had to be what people expect of like J.K. Rowling or something. And that's not what they're looking for. They want that from J.K. Rowling. They want you from you.
Very much so. And keeping that you like authentic through time and not allowing the outside noise is super important. Like, when you start to engage in more people and they start to give you their opinions or their perspectives, it's still, for us as artists and what we want to do and that message, whatever comes back to us, we still need to take with a grain of salt, absorb it, assess it, and then continue moving down our path. We can use it however we want to use it or leave it, but it's super important that when you start to get that reach and you start to engage in those conversations, not all the connections are going to be the ones that you are going to benefit from, right? So always keep your authentic self and always make sure you maintain that goal and continue to move forward in your messaging, because you're never going to please everybody. If you did, it would be weird. We would be like robots. Yes, master, this is perfect.
I have always said, no matter what, with all of the things that I do and have done with my online radio station that I had in the past, my books, my writing, reading, blogging, all of that stuff, you have to have negative criticism. You have to.
Yes.
And even and the thing of it is with that, you can't always take it to heart. Some of it is just browbeating and very displeasing and sometimes disrespectful. But a lot of negative criticism can be used to fix what's wrong. You can use it to make things better. And I think I really try to do that with my writing and with all the stuff that I do here online. That's what I try to use. I try to use that negative criticism and, the comments, hey, where you been? We've been missing you, kind of stuff like that. I use it as I try to turn it into a positive and go, all right, this is something I need to fix. This is something I have to fix. Obviously they're looking for my tweets or they're looking for my Instagram posts and they're not there. So I need to figure out and manage my time so that I am there. Last year, the last 2 years, first original kickoff of Authors Write Aloud, and last year the official season 1. I was running the show great. A lot of different things was happening, and I kind of stepped back out of it. And there were some authors that 100% I let down, and I felt absolutely terrible about it. I still feel crappy about it at the same time. However, but I can't change anything about it. The only thing I can change from here on out is to make sure that I go through with things. Like with yesterday, with getting in the car accident, this, that, and everything else. I knew when I got home, I had a graphic to fix because I had a misspelling, and I had a graphic to fix because I had another person step out of tomorrow's show. I knew I had to follow through with that, no matter what it was that I was dealing with in life. I had to take the 10 minutes and go, I can change this, and just keep striving to make myself better at that. And at the same time, make some of those negative critics go away, but build off of it.
Now I'm sorry that I asked you to fix that graphic because I didn't realize you were dealing with stuff in your life.
It's totally okay.
That is totally me.
I should have read it when I had typed it all out and done it. When I hit the save button, I should have stepped back, looked at it, used everything, and I would have stopped right away. But I just, everything's in there. It's good. Save. And I didn't realize.
It's the thing is, I'm a 40-year-old man, and it's been going on my entire life. I really should just let it slide by this point. Like, really, I should it doesn't affect me. I'm just like, oh, hey, by the way, it's a C instead of a K. But I'm glad you don't think ill of me for just pointing that out.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, and the thing of it is too. In this kind of world, we have to look at several different things on that, because there could be a Marc Watson author out there with the K in it.
There is. He's a really nice guy. He lives in Scotland.
What?
I could tell you stories about Marc Watsons who are writers. It seems like oh my God, there's so many. It's ridiculous.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I know I have another friend somewhere, and they have the same exact name. And she actually hyphenated her name for the simple fact that her regular name is a porn star. So she was like, okay, I got to put my name and my husband's name in there and hyphenate that thing. And I think there was another one. She had a name that was very similar or the same, and she was a murderer or something like that. So the first 30 things that come up is, the trial and this and that and the murder and everything else. Oh, she's an author too.
Speaking about marketing, Google search your name, and then there you go.
That's not the cross marketing that I was talking about earlier. That's not the good kind. That's the kind you don't want.
Right. So I respect that completely. So that's once I saw that you had posted, and let me know, hey, by the way, it's with a C. And I'm like, what? And I looked at the image again. And I went, oh my God, I didn't look at that. Yeah, I did the whole face palm.
My dad has spelled my name wrong on at least 2 occasions, and he's the one who named me. So don't feel bad about it.
Oh, that's funny.
True. I think it was both times we were golfing. He was filling out the scorecard, and he fills it out and puts a K on it. And I look down at it. I'm like, I'm going to see how many holes we can get through until he didn't even make it to like the second tee box. He figured it out right away. But the point is, I saw him do it.
At least he admitted it. I would have been like, oh, the next person wrote it. The other person wrote it. It wasn't me. I'm your father.
No,
I would totally play it off like it wasn't me.
My C's look like K's. It's just weird, right? I know.
Yeah, well, it looks like a C. I don't know what you're talking about. Do you need glasses, Mark? You're 40. You don't. No, come on now. Just kidding. It's like it's totally not me.
So just to kind of go over everything and just kind of tie everything in a little bit with engaging in marketing, what are your personal favorite social medias to do social networking, marketing based?
For me, which is probably going to be different than anybody else, I prefer using Instagram. For me, it makes sense to engage my readers that way. I make lovely connections around the world, which is super interesting. And I'm constantly learning more, and it's easy to take one from Instagram and mold it a little bit and tailor it to other social media platforms. So that's really what I use for social networking and marketing for myself. And that would be my number one.
I find that to be a really difficult question to answer, honestly, because I've gotten, I guess, different responses across platforms always, and I've benefited in different ways and met different people. I would say sort of the most that you can do, try them all, see what works or what you like. Because if you hate Facebook, your posting probably looks like you hate Facebook. You know what I mean? So stick with what you like then drop the Facebook one or post there once in a while and stick with Twitter or something. You know, for me, for Richard, his favorite is Twitter. For me, my least favorite is Twitter because I feel like my tweets disappear in 2 seconds and I don't have time to post a lot of tweets. So like for me, I like Facebook and Instagram better. I know it's weird. Everyone's saying the opposite, but for me, I think Facebook has done the most for me. I have higher engagement with the amount of people I have on there. I get a lot more personal messages on there, and I get more comments. I'm not sure why that is. I find it funny. Every time I drop off the map for a short time and I come back, I'm like, nobody's going to like this. And it's, for some reason, it's sticking. I don't know why. It makes no sense. So, for me, it's Facebook and Instagram.
I had a conversation very early on in my writing adventure where I had at the time been very focused on Facebook and Twitter, and who I was talking to was like, I have never had the kind of engagement on those 2 platforms as I could do with Instagram. And I completely agree with that statement, and I completely understand why Instagram is a favorite and a popular one, because that reach is so far and you don't disappear so quickly, which is definitely a concern. But I personally I'm not great at Instagram. I usually just use it as a tie-in. If I'm posting a picture or if I'm doing something on Twitter, then I'll make sure that I remember to put it on Instagram, or I'll link the accounts or something like that just to make sure the engagement stays there. But the engagement itself is usually the highest when it comes to the eyes who are on it and links or likes and comments and all of that on Instagram. So that's on me because I have always gravitated towards Twitter. I'm not going to say it's my favorite because there's a lot to dislike, a lot. Like it's a very long list. For me, I'm a very sentimental person, and that's where I started. That's where I started this whole journey, was on Twitter. And I will tell anybody who will listen, my first book that I released, Twitter helped me write it. When I was doing like daily writing prompts and those kinds of things, and I would put a quote out there, the engagement that I got back on that really kind of informed what worked and what didn't, because it was a comedy. It's a dark comedy. So if people thought it was funny or if it was getting a lot of likes or retweets, then I knew that it was something that was working. And if something kind of disappeared, it's almost like testing your jokes as a stand-up in front of a live audience. Like you see what doesn't. That made me gravitate more toward time. So that's the one that I spend the most time with. But like I said, I'm not going to say it's just because I know that it has so many downsides. Directly answering the question, Instagram is my favorite for marketing, but you won't get me off of Twitter.
You can't get me off Twitter because I don't really know why. The only downfall it has is the 160 characters or whatever you're allowed.
320.
How much?
320.
320 now?
Yeah, they doubled it.
Oh, good. They need to double it again. Because sometimes I want to put information in there, and then of course I have, I'm a big hashtagger. I've done a lot of research on the hashtagging and what works and how the hashtags. There's hashtags for daily use.
Mhm.
There's hashtags for the communities like writing community, and one of my favorite on Instagram is Authors of Instagram. Uh,
Mhm.
there is a really good base of communities, but then there's also hashtags that you want to use that are based on the day. Like there's WIP Wednesday for and sharing a quote from your work in progress.
Hmm.
Um, and of course you got the typical ones that are trendy, like the Thursday thoughts and
Mhm.
Friday fun day and or fun day Friday, and they toss those back and forth. And in fact, the main reason tomorrow night's new show is called Thursday Thoughts is because it's a hashtag. That's why I chose that name for that
Marketing.
show.
It's a good idea.
Because it's already a hashtag, it's established, and many people see it. And when I post on a Thursday and I use that hashtag, I get quite a bit of engagement. So I think it's and this show is only going to be a part-time show. It's not going to be an every week one like tonight is. But so it's going to be a periodically special event show for fun. But I wanted it something like that. I wanted it something catchy, but at the same thing, I wanted it something that's already out there so that it would catch.
That's a good strategy. Some people do that with their books. They try to name it
Mhm.
something close to a popular book so that they'll come up in the search,
Mhm.
just so that people will see them. This kind of, it's hard to get seen, so I think that's a good idea.
You
I
can
just
always
but I do
throw
do
the
it.
word tits in your title. People either love it or hate it. I don't know. It was a marketing tool. Sex sells, they say. I mean, it's not all about my books, but yeah.
And we're getting a little bit of comments over there from Mike, horror author, in the comments. And he's saying writing community and FF, Friday Fun Day, work hand in hand, and which they do, or follow Friday.
Follow Friday. Yeah, that's always a popular one for me.
Yeah.
And they do. They really do work hand in hand. I think. I mean, I'm usually tagged on a follow Friday by somebody. I get it quite a bit. I know Joseph Carabas has tagged me in it. JD Estrada's tagged me in it. I think Christie even has at some point in time. Somebody has tagged me weekly in a follow Friday for quite some time now, and I've gained a lot of followers because of that. And the cool thing is I mean, I definitely gain followers that they're, I either don't follow back or they're on for a little bit and gone because there's, a lot of them are bots. But there are those handful of either fellow authors or readers or reviewers or something that jump in there. They like that, and then they actually start following some of my posts, and I've made relationships out of that. And that's the one thing. That's the reason I like it so much. Facebook, I found the problem there. My posts aren't getting seen by a lot of people. Um, but the thing about Facebook is if I need to engage or get in touch with fellow authors or people that I work with hand in hand, or that I've done, that I have some sort of a relationship with over the past 5 years in writing, I can hit them on Facebook like that, and I usually get a response, and we're working together on something. Christy, I've hit her up over some stuff before. There's Katie Salidas and Courtney Cannon and Joe Compton from Go Indie Now. There's just so many different ones that JD is one of them. JD Estrada, Anna East, Charchenko. There's just a handful of them that they're like kind of like in my close writing family. That if I need something or I need an extra guest or on the show or something else that we're doing, I can usually just shout out, just start hitting, a few messages. And usually I have something lined up or, done very quickly. Mike has become one of those. And I met Mike through Joshua Robertson's Discord originally, just before Writers Imperfect. And then Writers Imperfect, him and I, started shooting the breeze and we became friends. And then he appeared on the show a couple of times last year. So, and so the relationships that you build like that, them are the ones I look forward to. And it's like you said, I think Miranda had said it. You can have a million viewers or a million fans, but it's the 10 that engage with you. That's it's about the quality of your readership than it is the quantity in my book.
Yeah, very much. That was all Christie though, but I do follow her on that. I'm one of the 10 followers that is like, please, I'm the biggest fan. But it really is true. Like, if you look at the first book that you've ever written and think about the first people that picked up your first book or the first people that were at your first book launch, they're going to be at every book launch. They're going to have every one of your books. They're going to try to watch your videos. They're going to like all your posts, and they're going to buy your books for their family members for gifts. Like, those are the people that you want, and it takes time to build relationships. Like, you don't fall in love overnight. You don't make lifelong friendships overnight, and you don't build Rome overnight. So why would we expect to build those kind of relationships with a couple of posts on a couple of social media platforms and then be famous right off the hop? It doesn't work like that. Like, it takes time and effort and actual energy to build relationships with people, because they are people at the end of the day, and so are we.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and people want to know that you're not just going to disappear too, because there are a lot of authors that, they start out publishing and maybe they find out that this isn't really what they want to do, and then they're just gone, or something like that. And, it's fine. Everyone has to try things and figure it out. But I know that there are people who are a bit skittish about becoming like a big fan of you or, communicating with you on a regular basis if they think you might disappear. So, like, the longer you're out there, the longer you keep doing this stuff, it does accumulate. You sometimes reach plateaus with these things, and you're stuck at 700 likes on Facebook for months or something, but it's okay. That will probably clear up at some point, or, somebody's going to share your post at just the right time, and you're going to find new followers, new people to talk to and stuff like that. So it definitely is a matter of persistence, and you're not talking to air even when you feel like it. It can just be people waiting to see sort of what you're going to do or how long you're going to stick around or where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like to try and treat it as something personal. Like, it doesn't really matter how many followers I have or how many people I'm following. I'm okay with trying to hang on to that one little kind of author circle that I've got. And there are a bunch of people who were in like that first 100 followers that I had that still follow me now, and we still engage with each other. And I relish those relationships. I don't know if they've ever bought anything from me, or I know that I've bought some stuff from them, but maybe there's somebody out there thinking the same thing about me. Like, I don't think Marc's ever bought anything of mine. But if I treat those relationships that way, and I can let those relationships bloom, they can turn into something. That's how I found my first publisher, and that's how as I said earlier, I've gotten a lot of reviews and comments from all around the world just by making, like, okay, so I have my tight little circle, and then I make sure I engage with them, and then I let that circle grow. And as long as I do it naturally, and forcing it's a big thing, like I make sure I do not force it. I go on, particularly Twitter. I saw Mike mention it earlier in the comments about, or was it somebody mentioned it about Oh no, it was one of you. Can't remember who it was. Just about somebody who about follow dropping, where they somebody will follow you. Like I'll instantly go in for anybody who follows me, and if I see that, like, yeah, they follow 500 people, but 10,000 people follow them, I'm like, you're probably not going to be somebody who's going to engage with me on a regular basis, even if it's just posting things that I would really enjoy. You're following and then dropping me and just collecting the followers for whatever reason. Maybe that makes you feel good. Maybe this is part of a marketing strategy. I don't know. That's not why I'm there. I'm there to grow those relationships organically, and they have absolutely turned into something that I consider successful.
Absolutely.
Very much so.
So, but well, we have reached the end of our evening. So I'm going to close us off a little bit. But before we do, I want to let everybody in this lovely world know where we can legally stalk each one of you. Where can we find you? If you're over there on the YouTube video or see the YouTube video later, it is in the description for each author. And I will update those in the next 24 hours with the actual links. StreamYard didn't allow me to do it the way I wanted to, where YouTube will allow me to fix that. So those things will be fixed, but they are there. You can find everybody's website and username in the description. But I'll start with Miranda. Where can we find you and legally stalk you?
You can find me and legally stalk me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Just search up Miranda O or hashtag #ChinUpTitsOut. Super easy to find me out there. Oh, and Amazon, you can purchase my books if that piques your curiosity as well.
I think I gotta one day have an interview directly on this chin up tits out thing.
I would absolutely love to, Richard.
Christie, where can we find you?
You can find me on my website, ChristieStratos.com. You can buy books if you'd like directly from me there. It costs the same as Amazon, but you get a fun gift-wrapped packaging and custom stuff. So you can do that. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm on Pinterest. I keep things about my books there. You can find me on Writers Showcase. That is on SoundCloud. I also have a Facebook page for that. Pretty much anywhere you can find any other author, you can find me there as well. I still have my YouTube channels. They're there. I just don't keep them up very much, but they have hundreds of videos. So, you can find me on YouTube under Christie Stratos and under the Writer's Edge Show as well.
Mark, where can we find you and legally stalking?
Oh, legally. Oh, that's no fun. First, I just want to say, just going back to this whole engagement thing, I'm looking over in the comments and I'm seeing A.F. Stewart, who is someone who I have been following for a very long time, and it's fantastic to see you. It's just one of those like long-standing organic relationships, and I'm just really happy to see you there. Hi. So you can find me at Write Watson on Twitter and it's Instagram. So that's at Write WRITE Watson. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Mark Wrote a Book. And of course, you can go to my website, www.markwatson.ca. That's MARCWATSON. There is a markwatson.com. He's also an author and a roller coaster engineer. So he's a lot cooler guy than I am. But if you want to follow me, it's .ca.
Excellent. I'll chime in. And Anita is a wonderful person. I've done work side by side with her for the last few years on the Brain to Book Cyber Convention, and last year on the Our Right Side Cyber Convention. And she is definitely, she's a handful, but she is great.
Awesome.
You like things just right, but hey, sometimes we got to have them like that because they got to keep us in check. Because I'm scatterbrained, I'm all over there. You can find me on authorrichardwhite.com. You can find me on Facebook at Author Richard White. Twitter is R White Author. I mess that one up all the time because Author Richard White was taken. Author Richard White on Instagram, and pretty much everywhere else you look, you will find me at author Richard White via YouTube, Twitch, and some other great places. I do have a Discord. However, my Discord channel is directly for my fellow authors and readers that want to take part in personal chat with me. So if you want to be a part of that little world, it is where I wander through fiction to find the truth, which is my blog. Hit me up somewhere on the Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter for the Discord app link, because there's a code or something I got to give you or an invite. But I love having people over there and stalking me, or sharing some great memes, or just checking in on me to see how I'm doing and what I'm doing in the writing world. This has been Authors Write Aloud. Thank you all for coming on to the show tonight. It was a lovely conversation. Tune in tomorrow night for another episode, a special edition, hashtag Thursday Thoughts. That's right, folks. We are launching a brand new show tomorrow night, Thursday Thoughts, with some wonderful people. Ed Ireland, Angela B. Chrysler, and Jason Lavelle is joining me for world building and character creation. So I think that is going to be a really cool show and a whole lot of fun because I summoned Angela, literally, and we will tell you all about that tomorrow night. But thank you all so much for coming onto the show. It was a great show, great talking points, and have a great night, everyone.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Bye.